Some Aboriginal people may be upset by the appearance in this program of any person who has died since its making. Anyone who may be upset should exercise caution when watching this film. We apologize for any inconvenience or distress caused.
My father, one year, Karkata, whatever.
Down my culture and the language is right here in my heart. Don't matter, I can speak white English, but that don't matter.
When European people first came to Australia, they assumed that because there were no churches and no altars, that the Aboriginal people had no religion. For 40,000 years, the land has been their sacred temple, which was shaped by the songs of travelling ancestor spirits, such as the rainbow snake. Their belief system is based around a reverence for all of creation, which has come to be known as the dreaming. The ancestors created a law for Aboriginal people to live by, with no division between the spiritual and the secular. Now the white man's law rules over this land, and its greatest authority is the High Court. It is a law that comes from the laws of England and the Christian tradition. Since the separation of church and state in the West, this law has become strictly secular. Aboriginal people must now try to follow this law as well as their own law.
For non-Aboriginal people, this building and its law has great symbolic significance. This is the sacred spot of Western law. We've been working and dreaming about a way to bring together an exhibition which would show the world and Aboriginal people themselves their credibility of their law. And here in this building, we're about to open an exhibition, Aboriginal Art and Spirituality.
Aboriginal art relates the social, moral and ceremonial aspects of their law, and this film returns to the source of that art as produced by some of Australia's leading Aboriginal painters. European observers have tended to view Aboriginal culture as frozen in time. In fact, it is dynamic and flexible, with continual innovation of ceremonies and sacred designs, which are exchanged between tribal groups.
Most Aboriginal art that's produced today is the end result of thousands of years of religious practice. What we see here is basically what I would call a Polaroid of particular ceremonial cycles that are carried on every year. It's a contemporary religious practice from which it's derived, and this religious practice is still carried on today, and with thousands and thousands of people taking part. It'd certainly be as big as some sects of other church groups throughout Australia, and it's still being carried on today.
These paintings tell the dreaming stories that are also sung as part of the ceremonial duty of keeping the land.
Saying, Michael? I think he's talking about the snake going this way, John. To Canberra.
The dreaming refers to events in the past, but also to the spiritual powers of the ancestors which influence the present. Initiated people can tap into these powers at certain sites. In the 1940s, when Jumpo was a young man living in the desert, German Catholic missionaries came to this place, herding a flock of sheep before them. Hearing about the strange sight, he and his family group walked from hundreds of miles away to see for themselves.
This one was the church.
Yes, church.
When did you first meet the white fellas?
That white fella, people, Father Albon. Father Albon died, Father Albon with Father Candy. That's a long time, you know? That was long time, not this time.
When you were a little fella, young fella?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know, now married. One is a young fella, me. This one, I've been working. All of him in this. Easter or Tarim and people demand.
Jumpo now lives in the nearby community of Balgo. The law from the dreaming is actively practiced here, despite 40 years of contact with the Catholic missionaries. It is carried on through religious ceremonies such as initiations, and has recently found expression in the form of highly saleable acrylic paintings.
I'll just draw him first, Joby, then we'll get the story.
The community of over 100 painters employs an art coordinator to record the stories of their paintings and to supply them with materials.
And what do you call this country?
We're Kiki. This one Kiki.
And he fell out of the sky into that
Into
lake.
that big lake. This one is straight down.
So he's like a shooting star.
Mm.
And he's still there today?
He's
Still down the bottom of the lake?
Although it is based on a traditional story, this is contemporary art. The story told is written down and sold as an integral part of the painting. It reveals one layer of meaning, and the other ceremonial layers are kept secret.
And that man who threw him, was he killed? Or
No.
was he palya? He was all right.
He's all right.
Yeah. The Mapan man or the witch doctor tried to stop the falling star or smash it up, but his boomerang missed. And he's saying these snakes who were living in this place, like rainbow snakes,
Yeah.
well, they all got smashed up too. So it's a sort of bit of a dangerous place.
Mm.
This old man can tell you about places like that down Lake Mackay too. Because Lake Mackay is a very dangerous place also. And I think there's stories of white fellas there who have disappeared.
when I broke all day, I walk on no jono. Oh, yeah, macho. Talo bar, what if you are a balloon? Wagani. But I have a ding, oh, jono. We are don't opening nothing. Now we are. Lo chalo kanyin ngalo. Ngalo. We are ngalo. Nala lo kanyin ra koto jipro. Mangana la bali umul bila charbin. Charpa mal. Charbin ba. Char mango ko je jida kini ni lioti. Ma kanyin char.
Most Aboriginal art has many different levels, and one of the very basic levels is that they're sort of conceptual maps. The real thing about the maps is that people only paint certain maps, and it's not because they happen to live there or whatever, it's because that's where their soul comes from and resides, so they're only allowed to paint certain parts of different landscapes rather than just a landscape as a Western European artist would paint.
A lot of Aboriginal people are Christian, and in the past that's not often been acknowledged. So what we've tried to do is to create an exhibition which really respects the different spiritualities of Aboriginal people.
How does a traditional Aboriginal person reconcile their dreaming with the Christianity that was introduced by white missionaries?
We must not be a victim of someone else's theology. We have to be a people that struggling and trying to find our common ground to be able to use and challenge our people. Because those who has come to us, present the gospel, have only had one thing in mind, is to convert pagan. Only one person who can judge, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ himself.
These paintings are an early attempt to Aboriginalise the Christian message. Miriam Rose Ungamur was asked by a priest to paint them when she was a young woman.
We feel that the church should try and accept a lot of the ways that we'd like to introduce our traditional beliefs through the church and have it accepted as part of the church ceremonies.
This is the bread come down from heaven, not like the bread our ancestors ate, for they are dead. But anyone who eats this bread will live forever. And this is the gospel of the Lord.
The Nayu community at Daly River is in the tropical north of Australia. It is a former mission but now independent, and Miriam is its elected leader as well as the school principal. She must mediate between the expectations of the church and government bureaucracies and the demands of her community.
the pressures that we feel now, I think it's probably 4 times as worse than compared to the pressures that you feel. Because we're trying to live in two worlds at the same time. Being a traditional person and living in a Western type of situation. I feel good just going away, ending up in my own traditional homeland. From the bottom of the painting, we've got turtles hibernating. Straight after that, the season starts for the freshwater crocodiles when they lay their eggs in the sand in the billabongs around here. And how we know that they're ready to be collected is when the kapok pods open and the wind catches them and they go floating. Then it's time to go looking for these freshwater crocodiles' eggs.
And I believe that our culture and our ceremony is close to the understanding of the Hebrew people because we are close to nature. The spirituality of the Aboriginal people is our unit, something that we appreciate, something that we can touch with.
Traditional beliefs and Christian beliefs. We feel that we can combine those things together. Just a matter of getting people to accept that, and especially the church. The little circle represents a woman being born, and then the circle of her life continues, being met by other little circles representing her children. Some of the circles are filled in by dots and wriggly lines representing happy times and bad times. The circle is then surrounded by a star. The star represents Mary, the mother of Christ. On the 5 of the points, I've embedded the joyous mysteries, the Annunciation, the Visitation, Jesus being born, the Presentation, Jesus being lost and found in the temple talking to the Pharisees.
Yukulum Kenyan, Tainano, Taibita.
David Downs came into contact with white society for the first time when he was in his 20s. He was born and initiated into the law in the Great Sandy Desert. David now lives on the edge of the desert in Fitzroy Crossing.
My father, he never learned him to find him, and me, having found me child from picnic, long time. People now.
When David arrived in Fitzroy Crossing in the 1960s, it was run by fundamentalist Protestant missionaries. They required people to destroy their sacred objects and to abandon their ceremonial practices, as these were seen as anti-Christian. In his own way, David now preaches this fiery Christian theology to others.
We have received two things in one package. We have received the Christian gospel and the Western tradition and their values. And too many of our people just accept it blindly and said that that is a part of the gospel, which is not.
David wanted to dance a rainwater corroboree outside his church for our camera. Some church members tried to stop this, saying it was anti-Christian. David had assembled a small group of his people to sing the corroboree for him.
Yes. Now, what are you chat about now? Mandi balona la. Kita mau lupa ni ada mana? Iya, kau hari ni dia ada mengapa? Live no ada dia. Live no ada. Yo, ayo lo nak kerja lain kan? Ayo lo nak kerja lain kan? Anda di mana? Abu Nanda. John. And we land. And now rain. We land by time all on the locum. We land di mana? Di like a di mana? I've been for we land here. And we land here.
Gerdal is a storm being from the dreaming. Singing as he travels, he bends to listen for the sound of the underground living water that will become his home. Finally, dancing his own death and transformation at the waterhole that now bears his name, Gerdal changes into a water snake. He is now part of the water itself. David now paints biblical creation stories as well as dreaming stories.
Ten Commandments, third one, Israel. Half and half, unmeasured half, and 10 Commandments. Probably. Like a Tubala. Tubala bin Kama, young one from long as somewhere from America. Might be, you know. We don't know. Married. This one, he cannot doctor, little bit doctor, and this one, proper doctor. Moses and God. Trouble of nothing but 10 Commandments, this one. Like no married to round and going there. And this one evil come. This one Adam Eve. And this one God been there. Wangi Puruto. Narangani Changa. Janichin. Number 1. Chaldu Walangani. God Nadakwani. Pujuni Nadakwani. Ngarbung, you know, God Ngarbu, Kalualan Pa, nothing, he didn't like a dijon. Now class, now law, now God will make it.
As Aboriginal people have come into contact with white European societies, they've been influenced by that, and as with many of other things to do with European civilization, they've tried to adapt them, or certainly to accommodate them, so that they can survive. And having a good look at Christianity is one of those ways of trying to live with white society.
I don't know that Lord Jesus Christ. And the people, I can tell you about people now, that I can't I'll make him but from Harangani.
Some of David's traditional beliefs are similar to biblical stories. But rather than replace these beliefs, he extends his dreaming to incorporate even the uncompromising theology of the fundamentalist missionaries.
Male, different male, you know. Like that. Male people. I got a page from getting people. Different language.
In the 1970s, the people of the Gidja language group from the eastern Kimberley were thrown off the pastoral properties where they had been living and working and became refugees in their own land. They eventually negotiated for a small piece of land to form a community at Turkey Creek. They wanted a two-way school for their community and decided on a Catholic school on condition that they could control it so that their children would learn their own language and culture as well as the formal school curriculum.
And I would tell them, yeah, I went to school. Then I got this project made up. And I got two sisters, Sister Clay and Sister Teresa. I got them from Canberra, and I was working for me.
We came in here invited by them, so consequently anything we did in here had to be in line with what the people were doing, which mainly was, you know, coming to an awareness of their independence.
And we've been telling them to pray, yeah, we got one Ngarangani, we can make Ngarangani. We've been telling them like that. Then we've been taught of making Ngarangani and language and all, you know. Put them in the language talk, got them our own language. Hey!
George and Hector and the other artists at Turkey Creek are famous for their minimal style, in which they use only natural ochres and gums. One of the members of their community recently represented Australia at the prestigious Venice Biennale. The Turkey Creek artists paint their country, which includes the spectacular Bungle Bungle.